the faster you can be honest with yourself about what you want out of your dating life and life in general, the faster you're going to get to that goal. Okay. One of the most transformative periods of my life with girls was after dealing with, if you know my story, then you know this, but if not, basically was kind of a loner, but this one girl had a crush on me, and it was kind of it's like something you find in a book, right? The shy, nerdy guy, and then the popular, cute girl from the rich part of town. She has a crush on him and chases after him, but he's an idiot and doesn't know how to handle it. She also had a boyfriend, and then I ended up losing her. And I went into a deep depression, and that lasted for I don't know, 6 months, maybe more. And then one day, I kind of woke up and realized that nothing's going to change unless I actually take action, right? But then I had to ask myself, what do I actually want? And all of my high school career, I'd kind of believed myself to be that shy nerd. If you've ever seen the show Gossip Girl, I kind of identified with Dan Humphrey. But then I looked at my own heart and my desires, and I looked at how I saw other people and criticized them. Oh, these people are shallow, they're not intellectual, because, I thought I was really fucking smart. I read philosophy, I'm so smart. And I would judge everyone else. Oh, they're just giving into their base desires, blah, 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 blah. But then, I'd jerk off to porn, or I'd have fantasies about girls. And it's just like, I was very clearly a big fucking hypocrite, right? But I couldn't see past my own bullshit. But then in this moment, after this depression, I was like, okay, clearly I'm not moving in the right direction. So what's the direction that I have to move in? Well, maybe I'm not as different from everyone else as I thought I was. And maybe I'm just like them in that I want to be popular. I want people to like me. I want girls. I want to go have fun, blah, 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 blah. And the more I looked at this, the more real it felt. Then eventually what happened was I stopped identifying with Dan Humphrey in the story of Gossip Girl, and I started identifying with more like a Chuck Bass character. If you've watched it, kind of the player, the bad boy, the rich playboy, whatever, however you want to characterize him. And once I accepted that desire was in me and I moved in that direction, I made a lot of progress really fast, because I didn't run away from the direction I really wanted to go into. Like, let's say you want to get better at dating, right? Or you want to start making more money, or you want to start to make progress in your field. You can apply this to anything. Actually, I had a client today that I talked to. He works in the film industry, and he kind of got a pretty good start in the film industry for various reasons. And so he's already kind of at a decent level. And he's frustrated with the progress that he's making. And, some of the girls that have worked for him are starting to get, gigs higher up in the industry, and he's kind of jealous. And I'm like, well, first of all, you cannot compare with hot girls, right? They're just automatically going to get stuff. But those girls end up kind of staying in the middle higher tiers and never really go to the super, super high tier. But, you can't complain that they're getting at least some attention and opportunities, because guys want to fuck them. But at the same time, also, he's only been doing this for like a year and a half or something. I'm like, dude, you're already at this level and you've been working for a year and a half. Like, you need to fucking chill out. But, there's a lot of a psychological situation going on there. He kind of grew up with a lot of privilege, and he's probably watching this, and he knows that, I'm saying this with compassion, but I'm just being honest. He kind of had a silver spoon in his mouth, and, he earned that from my perspective. He has good karma. But there were some downsides to kind of having it easy. And so he's aware of that, and he's learning how to kind of toughen up and not be so entitled, but it kind of reared its head, this little demon of entitlement. And so we were going into his expectations, but then also we started talking about his desires. And what was really funny is before he started complaining about not being as successful as he wants to be, he said something along the lines of, it's not that I want to be super successful and super rich so that, I can drive around Lambos and be famous and blah, 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 blah. And then went on his spiel and started crying. And I'm like, okay, I kind of checkmarked that. And then later on, we kind of worked our way back. And I said, well, why do you want to be successful, right? And so I was like, there's really only two reasons. One, you're in love with filmmaking, right? And you're in love with acting and all the different parts of it. And it's for the love of the craft. It's either that or it's the perks that come with the job, because there's only really two reasons you do it: for the sake of it or for the money or success or whatever else it gives you. And I knew for fucking sure it wasn't the first thing. So I was like, so you do want the success and you do want the Lambo and he kind of was quiet and he's like, yeah, I think I do. I do want to try. I want to try it at least once. So he still wasn't fully accepting it, right? And I was like, all right, there you go. Now you're being honest. And then I reminded him of my story of, it's written in my college book. And he remembered it. And I was like, you remember the part where I was honest about the fact that I wanted to be popular and have girls like me and fuck a bunch of girls and this and that? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, well, that was a big moment. Like, you might not realize it, but that put me on the track. And once you're on a track, it's just a matter of time and pain. That's it. That's the only thing keeping you back. You're either going to go slow because you're fucking dumb, or fast because you're clever. And it's either going to be painful because, you're dumb, or you just have a lot of, bad situations, or it's going to be pretty easy. It's going to be one of those combinations, right? But once you're on the path, you're on the path. Great, cool. And so once I was like, I want to learn how to talk to people, how to be charismatic, how to make friends, how to handle myself in a conversation, all these different little skills that make up what we call social skills and seductive skills, like what makes a girl actually like a guy. I need to learn that. Well, it was just a matter of time and effort. And eventually I figured pretty much all of it out. And so I had to sort of call him out and put in his face, like, stop pretending that you don't want this, because the more you pretend not to want it, the worse it's going to be, because you're going to be moving it in this direction, but then at the same time, like, turning around like, no, I don't really want this. I'm just, walking this way. It's like sticking your hand in the cookie jar, but then acting like you're not doing it. Right. But I really like that metaphor of, like, you're walking where you want to go, but you're walking backwards because you don't want to look at because you don't want to, like, admit it to yourself, or walking with, your hands over your eyes. And there's a very good chance you're doing this on some level, not only with regards to your goals, but also with the way that you actually express yourself in social situations and in seductive situations with girls that you're trying to fuck. Because let's just be honest, you're trying to fuck them. Right? One of the most hilarious things that I realized on my journey of, like, paying attention to what people want is sex is such a powerful force. It's probably one of the most, if not the most powerful force in the entire fucking universe. Like, that desire runs so much of your life, you have no fucking idea. Like, you can kind of play around the idea and go, yeah, it's a pretty powerful thing. It's, you have all these industries that are so popular, you have pornography and prostitution, and, people are really obsessed with getting sex, and when people don't get it, they get really upset. You can kind of start to understand it, but that's very surface level. Like, it goes so deep. Like, pretty much most of civilization is just built so that we can, like, be safe and then fuck each other. And it pervades a lot of your opinions, who you align yourself with, who you're friends with. It's really, really powerful. And when I started to see how powerful it was, I was like, okay, everyone's kind of playing this game where they're pretending not to want this, especially girls, right? And then guys are buying into it, right? And seeing girls as, like, innocent angels. And I'm like, y'all are really fucking stupid. But not only are you stupid, you're dishonest, which is worse. It's okay to be stupid. It's very easy to fix that. Getting rid of dishonesty is very difficult because no one wants to admit they're being dishonest with themselves. It's very hard to admit when you're lying to yourself. And people do it all the time. You do it to yourself. I still do it to myself. And I have to catch myself and go, no, Hector, this is what you want. You're trying to say this, right? But once I realized it, my seduction style of being so direct with women, I wanted to embody this honesty of expressing my sexuality, right? Telling girls I want to fuck them. Or if I don't say it like verbally, like it's really clear in my body language. Like I'm not fucking playing games. Like I'm going to try and fuck you, right? I'm going to touch you in a way that's sexual. I'm going to go for the kiss. I'm going to ask you to come home with me. Like just this dog. And everyone would always comment on me. Like you're just a dog. Like you just go for it. And what I wanted to tell pretty much fucking everybody is like, so are you. You're just as much of a dog as me, dog. You're just not fucking admitting it, right? You got a tail, you got the ears, you got the fur, and you got the big red balls, but you're not, and you're fucking woofing, right? But then you're pretending you're not. It's just really silly. And then the girls too, they're just like these horny little fucking sluts, but they're just pretending that they're not, right? And they'll come up with any dumb excuse. Like I remember I was telling a client just how silly girls can be sometimes. I remember I was sleeping with this chick, and we had a pretty good connection. She definitely wanted to be with me, but she was trying to play these games of like not wanting to be open and honest about wanting a relationship with me, which is fine, whatever. And one day we're at my place, and we were making out, and she's like, no, we're not going to hook up. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then eventually, whatever, I'm like, I make moves, and I'm like, hey, you want to go back to my room? And she's like, kind of gets sassy. She's like, I told you we're not going to hook up. And I was like, okay, she's playing these games again. I've already fucked this girl so many times, like been in every hole. And it's like, all right, why are you playing this game? But I'm like, whatever. And I just look at her, and I come up with this dumbest fucking like line. I just look at her and I say, well, sex is pleasurable for you too. Like, that's it. And she just looks at me and kind of like thinks about it. And she's like, okay, fine. And I'm like, that wasn't persuasive at all, right? And then we went to the bedroom and fucked the shit out of her. And it's just like, that's all it took. She just needed some dumb fucking reason, right? I've had girls like, I'll come over, but I'm not going to sleep with you. And I'm like, okay. And then they come over, and like 10 minutes later, I'm fucking the shit out of her. And then afterwards, she's like, yeah, I said I wasn't going to sleep with you, but, you waited a little bit. And I was like, 10 minutes? Like, like that's it. And it's just this funny game, right? There's reasons for it, and I understand why, women will do it for social reasons and also self-respect. But it is really silly at the end of the day. And so I see that men and women both are really hiding their sexual desires. And I tried to become this embodiment of the antithesis of it, right? Like I wanted to be the harbinger of, sexual honesty. And it really was cool because the more I embraced it, the more I got, and the more women received me, because they felt like they can be open and honest around me. Like they can just be little sluts, and they want to be sluts around me. And it's fun. And girls would literally say that to me. Like, I feel very free around you. I can be who I want. I can give into all these like naughty desires that I've always had, but I've never really been able to express because of blah, 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 blah. And then guys who learn from me, they also start to become more sexual, and they see the positive ramifications of it. Because, as long as it's consensual, and as long as, there's no sort of like a boyfriend or a husband involved, right? Or you have a girlfriend and wife, no sort of cheating or lying or deceit, then what the fuck is wrong with it, right? There is, I guess, a certain extent of like, okay, getting too lost in hedonism. But let's put that to the side right now. That's more of like a skill versus unskillful thing. These are like just morally good and bad. So as long as it's, doesn't have any of those little things involved, then it's okay having fun, right? But what happens is that actually, if you're not open and honest about it, and I'm not saying you have to be like super direct like I am, and there's an art to how I'm direct. Like I don't literally just say all the time, hey, I want to have sex with you. Like there's timing in the way that I say it, and the energy in which I say it. and my read on when it's cool to say it to the girl, or how to react when she gets like, what did you just say? I really know how to do it well, and I'm not saying you have to adopt that style, but at some point you do have to be direct, right? And you do have to. I mean, when you go to kiss a girl, that's direct, like you're showing your interest, right? So everyone kind of does direct game, but unfortunately, most men are hiding that sexuality until like a certain moment. Whereas with me, it is always brimming on the surface, and you can see it in my eyes, just like flickering, right? And then sometimes it does make its way out of my mouth, right? Or extend with my hand, to make a move. But it's always here, just like flickering, right? And girls can see it in my eyes, and they can feel that it's in my entire body. Right? I'm just thinking about sex. I'm speaking in a sexual way. It would be kind of cringe to do it right now, talking all sexy, because you're just watching me on a YouTube video. But it looks cringy on the outside. But the only reason you think it's cringy is because you haven't fully accepted it. Right, but a guy who has accepted his sexuality watching a seduction, he'll be like, yeah, they're just like expressing themselves, right? But what's funny is, even people who have these reservations and like, oh, you're a player, you're a creeper, this and that, then they're gonna go jerk off to porn, and it's like, so it's weird for you to do it in real life, but then you're gonna sit behind a computer and watch two people do it, and it's just like, it's just really silly. Right? Or even if you don't watch porn, you're going to jerk off. It's like, okay, if like you're a celibate monk, then you have the right to like tease all of us, right? But if you really were a wise celibate monk, you wouldn't tease everyone, because a wise celibate monk knows that he has all the same desires as everyone else up until the point when he gets rid of them, right? So he wouldn't be super judgmental. But I see that not only is there a hindrance to your progress in your dating life because you're not embracing what you really want, right? I want to fuck girls, right? Like a guy who like thinks, oh, I just want a cute girlfriend. No, you want a bad bitch, right? If with a big ass or big titties, whatever you're in, or dick sucking lips, some DSLs, you want a Latina, you want a white girl, you want fucking Filipina girl. I don't know what the fuck you're into, right? You want some shit, okay? And be honest with it. And you maybe want a lot more than you think. Like I had a client who, when we're out approaching, he's like, I'm not kind of a player, but I'll learn the skill. I'm more interested in the skill. I'm like, okay, sure, buddy. And then, it's been like a year, and we chatted just a couple months ago. And he was like, yeah, I fucked this girl, and then I fucked this girl, now I don't really feel like seeing her anymore. And I'm like, hey, buddy, like, do you remember this conversation we had when we were walking around Centruvec in Bucharest, and you said this about not wanting to be a player, and he's like, yeah, I remember that. I'm like, how's that fucking going? And he's like, yeah, maybe I have a little bit of a dog in me. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I always knew that, but you weren't aware of it, right? So just like me in high school, or this guy fucking, you might learn it sooner or later, but eventually you're going to come to accept what you truly want. And then you should move in that direction. Unless, of course, there's some sort of moral barrier behind it, right? But then also, once you are honestly going after what it is that you want, a lot of girls, or one girl, maybe you genuinely only want a girlfriend, and that's completely okay, but you have to be honest with yourself about that, right? Or you want both. You want to fuck a lot of girls and then find the love of your life. That's what most guys actually want to do. I'd say most guys follow that trajectory, but a majority of that majority are not going to admit to themselves they want to fuck a bunch of girls. And then the smaller amount of the guys who actually do admit they want to fuck a lot of girls, they're going to do that, but then not embrace the other side where they do want, commitment in a deep relationship. Very small percentage of men are going to fully embrace their entire sexual and emotional spectrum. But even while you're on that journey, the more that you can embody, embrace, accept, not reject, not shame, not feel guilty about your sexuality, and also women's sexuality, you're going to be received by girls on a whole different level. You're going to be more confident, because you can think of confidence as like it's certainty, right? There's the confidence of the certainty of like, I know what to do in this situation, right? And then there's the confidence of not blocking yourself. So like, let's say you want something, you want to get with this girl, but you're a little bit nervous, right? But you know that, she's giving you the signs, but you're still nervous. That's fine. But then you hit the point where it's time to make a move, and then you double guess and second guess yourself, even though all these things are aligned. So even if you have confidence, when you finally push through that, it's going to be very awkward, because there's going to be that resistance point, and then boom, you're going to punch through. And then the way that you express yourself with your, your charisma, your body language, the way you talk, it's not going to be as silky smooth as it would have been. And that might lead to a rejection, because she's going to feel that the train hit a hiccup, and then she's going to be like, do I really want to stay on this ride? But if you're just like, nope, open the gates, I'm going, then it's going to be smooth, right? So that's how smooth or confident looks like in practice. But what's happening is, in your mind, you hit a point where you're unsure, or you're nervous or whatever, and you just like plow past it and just try something. And so a lot of the seduction process is filled with those little moments. You don't have to be perfect at every moment, but you're still not hindering yourself. There's a difference. There are going to be moments when you pause and you think about what to do, but even in there's confident pauses where you're on the date with a girl and you're not sure how she feels about you, and you're kind of wondering, okay, do I go for a date too, or do I try to take her home now, or should I keep talking? Do I pull? What do I? And you kind of sit there and you think, and you keep with the conversation, but then you're having a second conversation with yourself in your head, and you're like, okay, and you're just letting yourself gather your thoughts. Then you make a decision, right? Because once you make up your mind, you just go. You have to make a decision at some point. And so this idea of not hindering yourself and just pushing through by being honest with what you want, right? Like let's say you're in a decision, like, do I wait for date 2, or do I take her home and try and fuck her right now? Oh, well, maybe she's not that kind of girl, right? Stupid fucking idea. Or, oh, maybe, she's not ready yet, which might be true, but like, you don't have enough information to maybe make that call, because most guys don't. I would say in most situations, you should just fucking try, like, just invite her home, right? And in that moment, you go, well, what do I want? What do I want? I want to fuck her. Like, you can want to date a girl, that's fine, but sleeping with her quickly doesn't affect that. It might affect it on her end, because she still hasn't gone through the ideas of like why that doesn't matter. But like on your end, you should be past that fucking stupid idea. But maybe you still have it. So you're like wrestling with yourself, like, oh, I really like her. Da, da, da. So even if she's the love of your life and she becomes the mother of your children, well, how are you going to fucking have kids? You're going to stick your fucking dick in her hole and bust a fucking nut and fill her with baby batter. Like, let's fucking be honest with ourselves about this. But people are so fucking ashamed of themselves and weak and dishonest, right? It's I consider it not only cowardly, but morally gray, or even like wrong. Like, you're just lying to yourself. Be fucking honest, right? So this very pervasive dishonesty with what we want in our life affects us even in that moment where we're making a decision, like, should I ask her home or not? Yes, fucking go for it. Fuck you. Hey, do you want to maybe go watch a movie? Or, be like, hey, let's just get out of here. Or, hey, you want to go for a walk? And then once you're on the walk, then you try to pull her home. Or what I'll do sometimes, I'll make a date right next to where I'm staying if I'm, traveling, or just find a place close to my house. Be like, hey, let's go for a walk. And then just start walking to my house. And at some point, she's going to fucking ask, where are we going? She's not fucking retarded. Right? You're not on a date with a comatose patient, right? She's going to see you walking towards a building. She'll be like, oh, where are we going? Be like, oh, we're going to my place. And I've had girls just go, okay. Or maybe they'll stop and be like, oh, you're trying to take me home, huh? And you'll have that moment, right? But at some point, you got to fucking make a move, right? And girls are going to like the guy who make the move, because girls like men who have penetrative personality traits, right? They don't want guys who are pussyfooting around. It's not attractive. You can be patient, and there's going to be moments where you have to pause, of course, right? Anyone says otherwise is not paying attention to what I'm saying and purposefully misinterpreting it. But even when you have those pauses, then at some point you're going to have to make a move. That move could be, well, I tried everything and she's not down. Okay, cool. Go home, or she can go home, or whatever, right? But you're still making moves decisively, right? And all of it in the root of things comes back to being honest about what you want. Or at least that's one way to kind of open up that ability to be more decisive. So be honest about what you want in your life with girls, with money. Like, if you want to be rich, fucking go, like, stop pretending you don't want to be rich, like the client that I mentioned, right? He wants to be rich and famous and get his dick sucked in a Lamborghini. Go fucking do it, right? It's not really something I really cared too much about, right? That's a cool idea, but I really looked, I'm like, doesn't really do that much for me. Or having a yacht, or, doing, none of those things really, like, allured to me. Or allured to me? I found alluring? Yeah. But other things I did, like fucking a lot of girls, or having a threesome, or this and that, or dating 2 girls at one time. Like, all these things were very interesting to me. Okay, cool. Having a nice fucking computer, right? I'm honest with myself. I want a fucking spanking amazing computer, right? Okay. Well, I was honest, and then I put in the work to be able to afford it. Cool. Once I saw what I wanted, I moved in that direction. And then eventually cleverness and hard work paid off. So be honest with yourself about what you want in life in general, but specifically, because this is not a financial channel or a motivational channel, girls. And then while you're actually dating girls, be honest about what you want. You don't have to be super direct, right? And be like autistically like, hello, I'm on this date in order to put my penis inside of every hole you have. Do you wish to proceed to step 2.5 on this 10-step rung or ladder rung? Like, no, duh, right? But you're going to come at it with an attitude of something like that, right? You're going to have that energy of like, all right, we're getting closer. Ready to suck this dick? Like, it's going to have this, and it's going to have fun with it too, right? So, yeah, start getting honest with yourself. And I think that you're going to benefit a lot. And I think that my client who I had the conversation with today, once he's embraces what he wants, I think he's going to start moving in that direction really fast. So whether it's money, girls, whatever, get at it. And good luck. With regards to dating, if you want to take the fast track, I would suggest one of 2 paths. 3. You can just watch my videos, right? If you don't have money, just watch my videos. They're free. Got hundreds. If you have a little bit of money, I would suggest picking up one of my courses. You can get my book on texting, because that's going to be a huge roadblock for you. You can just get around a lot of guessing and not knowing how to respond to certain girls' texts, and just have a book that tells you pretty much how to handle everything. If you want to be able to find girls to go on dates with, right? The most beautiful girls in the world that you walk past probably every fucking day, unless you literally never leave your house. At some point, you've walked past your 10 out of 10 on the street, and probably multiple times, many times, or 8 or 9, whatever, and you didn't go talk to her. Well, I can teach you how to, like, walk past her and then turn around and go talk to her, and then actually have her want to go on a date with you. And you just have to chat with her for 5 minutes. It's going to take some practice, and some of you are going to learn faster than others, but mostly depending on what your current social skills are at. But eventually you will succeed if you put in the work and if you listen to me, right? So you can get my course, Meet Girls Everywhere. It's in the description below. We'll help you do that. If you're looking for a tailored approach that is focused completely on you, your desires, and we're going to find out what they really are. It's one of the first questions that I start with guys when I do my consultation calls is, all right, what do you want? Right? And then, they either tell me and I think it's honest, or they tell me and I'm like, I think you might want something else, but we'll see. I'll teach you how to do whatever it is you want to do, right? But eventually I have my tricks. I'll reveal to you, your own heart, or I'll put a mirror in front of your face so you can look at yourself and you choose to see it or not. It's up to you, right? But that's my job as a coach, and I'm going to tailor your step-by-step progress based on what you need, what level you're at. And I've gotten pretty fucking good at it after this long. And the price point definitely reflects that. So if you're not in a position to be spending a decent chunk of change for coaching, I wouldn't even sign up for a consultation. So if that statement right there turns you off, then you probably can't afford it, right? But if you think you got some extra change and you are motivated to do some work, and you have the humility to listen and be willing to change, then we can do some stuff, and you're gonna improve orders of magnitude faster than you would doing it alone. You can pull it off alone. I have a lot of people who say, "Oh, I'm gonna try it on my own. I really just haven't put myself out there." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay. Today's the day." Chances of that are very, very slim. There's a reason why, I'm only so good, because I put like my entire fucking life, on that path to figuring it out. You can do it on your own, but you're probably going to do a lot faster with me helping you out. It's up to you, though. All right. So, yeah, if you're interested in that, sign up for a consultation. I'm pretty easygoing, but I can be pretty harsh. Most of it's just honesty, but people feel that as harshness. I used to be a lot harsher, actually. I've definitely mellowed out. I've basically figured out moments where it's best to be harsh, and I'm super open, like I am in these videos. I just chat with you just like this. Maybe even more chill. But there's definitely going to be struggle moments, where you're going to be doubting yourself. You're going to not know how to move forward, even though I told you what to do. It's okay. It's totally normal. I like to joke that a third of my job is being a dating coach. The other 2/3 are being a motivational speaker and a therapist. I'm not claiming to be a therapist, right? I'm just saying that as like how I see my my job, right? Listening to your woes and your whines and giving you some tips on how to fix it, and then giving you a kick in the butt to get you some motivation. But I'm definitely not a therapist. I can guarantee you that. I'm a dating coach. So, anyways, wish you guys all the best. That's all the shit that you can do. But at the end of the day, if you do put in work, you will make progress. It just might be slower or faster, depending on how clever you are, which cleverness often involves asking the right people for advice. Because why not move faster if you can move faster? So, I've talked enough, 32 minutes. I'm going to go fuck myself and go play Magic the Gathering and spend way too much money on shiny cardboard. And but I want to do it. So I'm just honest with myself. And wish you guys the best. Girlchase.com, Hector Castillo. Fuck yourself. I love you.